Welcome back to another video. In this video, we want to talk about effective blood flow techniques for gym beginners, right? If this is your first time coming to the gym or every single time you've been coming to the gym, it's still super important to understand how we can maximize our blood flow so we're able to lift heavier or run faster or stretch better or be more flexible. What we need to do, we can definitely achieve that. So if you're interested, definitely stick around. So I want to slow it down, right? I've been talking to you about so much science and just the abstract concepts that not many people will understand. I want to make it real. I want to make it physical. I want you to understand what we're actually talking about. So we've already discussed what breathwork is in movement, right? This whole series is on movement, breathwork and blood flow. We talked about how it's important to get oxygen from the environment so we can get more energized to do the activities that we need to do. At the same time though, now that we do have the oxygen inside of our body, how do we leverage that oxygen to maximize ourselves in the gym? And so I'm gonna really focus on the 10 major joints that you really need to focus on. I talk about this in every video, almost every video, but for this one, I want to specifically talk to you because if you're watching for the first time, you just want to get the information. I mean, I know I would like to just get the information. I don't want to be looking through like massive amounts of videos just to find what I need. So the 10 major areas is going to be your hands. So think about your hands right here, this 5 digits, right? So you have your thumb and 4 fingers. You have 2 of these, 2 sets of these. And so your hand has a lot of joints, but we just want to call it just like one joint. So that way it's easier to think about. And so if you were to go ahead and close your fist and let it go, close it, let it go. What ends up happening, if you think about it, if you close it, it becomes pale, right? Because you're restricting a lot of the blood flow. But then when you let it go, it becomes pink again because now blood is coming back here. So a lot of times, many people might feel very cold in their hands. If you take a look at their hands, it's probably very pale because they're not getting enough blood flow. And that could not only just be the fingers, but it could also be the wrist. That's where the next major joint or the junction that we like to call is there as well. So when the wrist is constricted, think of carpal tunnel, think of anything that requires you to be in long time, just like in that position, it restricts the blood flow there as well. So your fingers are there, then your wrist, and then after your wrist, then you have your elbows, right? Your elbows are able to go ahead and you have the brachioradialis, you have the bicep, you have the tricep. So this area can get restricted. So they're all tie in, right? You have your fingers, you have your wrists, you have your elbows, and then you have your shoulders. Shoulders are big boulders right here. What happens over time when we don't do like motions like reaching the sky, down, side, whatever plane that we need to go into, that becomes restricted. A lot of people get frozen shoulder because of that reason, because they're not really mobilizing that shoulder joint. So we talked about our hands, we talked about our wrists. We want to make sure our wrists are super mobile. I would say this area probably more important than your fingers because this area will allow the blood flow to come into your fingers. And then from there, your elbows, of course, how are you going to lift stuff if you don't have good mobility there, enough blood flow going. And then your shoulders, you want to make sure you're in all planes, right? Like doing shoulder circles is probably the best, reverse, sideways, etc. But now the next part's going to be your spine. Your spine is pretty long. If you were to look at my spine from the back, like you'll see it's like my head's here, but then the spine comes all the way back down, comes to the sacrum. You have like the skull and you have the sacrum and you have the spine in the middle. And it's important to make sure that your mobility of the spine is there. And it goes into 3 different planes, right? We have the X and Y, we have and the Z plane as well. So think of twisting motions, think of bending motions, think of like extending motions, think of side bending that allows the spine to properly get blood flow in where it needs to go. You don't want to have a lot of restriction there because you're going to feel stiffness. I know for a fact with my lower back pain, super stiff here, right? Super stiff here. So I have to make sure I'm always bending, extending, side to side, twisting, because I want to make sure that whatever I've done, right? So I can tell you right now that my fascia is super tight over there, my muscles are super tight over there, my bone structure is deforming because of the fact that my fascia and muscles are overly tight. And when that happens, obviously no blood flow is going there. And so what happens when you don't have enough blood? It starts withering away and dying. So you have to activate it, you have to get blood flow there, so that way you can make sure that the blood is giving nutrients, and then at the same time taking out the waste products so you can heal at a proper rate. Right, so that's my spine, and then of course you have your head and neck. You want to make sure that you're not stiff in your head, and I know I can tell that I'm very stiff because I'm on computers all day, and so it's going to be important how you actually mobilize your neck. And I think the easiest one is just to do neck circles, right? Because you'll get every motion in there. And then of course you want to reverse You can get more fancy with it, but just like the gist of it is going to be important for you to understand how you go ahead and mobilize your neck and head and neck, right? And then after that, you want to talk about your lower limbs. The major area is going to be your hips, your knees, your ankles, and your toes, right? You want to make sure that these areas get the proper blood flow, and I'm sure you have a lot of restriction, but the best one is just a squat. You do the squat, and I'm already hearing cracks and whatnot. When you do the squat, you can see that it's activating everything. You have to activate everything for you to be able to go down, and that's just like the quick, rounder activity that you can get everything activated. But really, if you really want to go ahead and activate your hips, you just do some hip circles, and then you go ahead, both sides, so making sure the hips are activated, and of course knees, whatever activity you want to do, you can do the Bulgarian squats or whatever activity that would activate the knees. And then your ankles, of course, the best one is probably going to be the toe raises, right? You want to go on your calves. What most people don't know is that your ankles are actually influenced by your calves as well. Like calves are that muscle right here. And what happens is when you're not activating your ankles, your calves start tightening up. And when they tighten up, they become like a rock. And when they become like a rock, the blood system, when it goes back up to the venous system, it's not going to be activated. And so your ankles are actually going to feel a little more stiff. So we want to make sure we activate them. Whenever you get a chance, just go do some toe raises. It's going to activate your toes, the toe muscles there is going to activate your ankles, also the calves as well, 100%. And you're going to feel that tension in your calf. And if you feel tightness in your calves, that just tells you that you're very restricted there. So we want to focus on all those. And this is going to be very beneficial for you when you come to the gym, because you'll see people much more advanced than you. You'll see people that are much more beginner than you. But if you can come here, make sure you activate the 10 major joints that we talk about. Whatever activity that you do, you'll realize it's just going to be so much more fluid. You're not going to be thinking too much about it, and you'll recover faster. And at the end of the day, you'll get addicted coming back here so you can work out and build the body of your dreams. That's the goal, right? With that being said, guys, if you found any value in this video, definitely let me know by giving me a like. I love seeing the subscriber count go up because it shows me you get value from it. Other than that, I'll see you in the next one. Hopefully you have a great day. Take care. Bye.